Hey, welcome back. I'm going to talk about an experience I had yesterday where an elder shunned my car. I shit you not. So, before I go into that, I'm just going to give some context because I had an experience with this elder a few months back in the supermarket. This is during the height of the lockdown here in this country, and the pandemic was rampant. And obviously, Jehovah's Witnesses couldn't preach during that time. So, this elder saw me in the supermarket, raced over to me, and preached at me for about 40 minutes. And he just kept going and going and going. And I did my best to be polite. I nodded and agreed with him whenever I felt that I could, hoping that he would just get it out of his system and then I could do my shopping and go home. But he just kept going on and on and on. And there was a couple of occasions where I just had to object to what he was saying. I just couldn't let them go. And the first was he started reminding me just how loving Jehovah's Witnesses are, and how different witnesses are from the rest of the general community. And I said to him, I said, look, you're telling me just how loving you are, and yet you're the only person in this supermarket who's not wearing a mask, and you're not socially distancing. I kept on backing away from him, even though I was engaging in conversation with him. I just wanted to keep a couple of meters apart. He just kept edging closer, no mask on him. Now, he responded to that criticism of him when I said he just didn't observe his basic civic duty to wear a mask and socially distance. He just shrugged it off and said masks are ineffective, and then just continued to preach at me. Then he brought up a murder that happened in the community recently, and he used it as evidence that the world is falling apart and crime is rampant, and it's an indication that we're in the last days. And I said to him, the historical trend of violent crime across the entire Western world looks something like this. It's just been going down for centuries, and it's accelerated in recent decades. And his face just dropped, as if it was hard for him to believe that anyone could say such a thing. And so I said to him, look, if you want to verify what I've just said, you can go on to a website, ourworldindata.org. And when I told him where he could go to verify that information, he literally put his hand up to my face and turned away. He did not even let me finish the sentence. I said, look, this is an Oxford University website. It's totally legitimate. It's not full of lies. It's not trying to deceive you. He wouldn't even let me finish my sentence. So anyway, I knew that was probably a good time to end the conversation, since he was really clearly feeling very uneasy. So I wished him well. I wished his wife well. I hadn't seen her in many years. And that was it. I then saw him about 2 months later. This is around Christmas time. And I saw him in the pharmacy, and I just politely said hello to him. And he responded very genially and politely back, and we just exchanged pleasantries. And he didn't try to preach at me again, which I thought was good. And I thought I respected that from him. I thought, okay, good. He knows better than to preach at me now, and we can just be polite to each other as acquaintances. But since I started my YouTube channel, clearly word has gotten around to people that I used to know, people that I used to call my brothers, that I'm now clearly a lying, bitter, twisted apostate who just wants to hurt people and spread lies about the organization and about the teachings of Jehovah's Witnesses. And I saw this man just yesterday. I was pulling out of the supermarket, and as I turned onto the main road, he was directly facing me, standing on the side of the street at a bus stop. And he clearly recognized that it was me. He probably recognized my car. It's the oldest piece of junk in the community, probably. It's very obvious. So he probably recognized my car. He then looked at me very, very briefly, just made the slightest bit of eye contact, And then he literally folded his arms and turned 180 so that his back was facing my car. I then drove past him and I looked in the rearview mirror, and then he literally once again turned 180 degrees with his arms crossed to make sure that his back was still to my car. And I looked back briefly 1 or 2 more times, and I saw that when I was maybe 50 or 60 meters away, he briefly just turned around to see if I had gone, if the danger had passed, and it hadn't, so he kept his back toward me. So this is an experience of a grown man. He's 70 years old or so. A grown man considered spiritually mature and qualified by the organization. And this is what he does to someone when he believes that they're no longer accepting everything they're told from the governing body. He shuns their car as they drive past. This is the mentality that the organization, the governing body, have instilled, this childish, this self-righteous, this desperately insecure mindset in people. And this filters down right through the organization. Now, this isn't something you'll see in every elder or every witness. You know, people are different, and they absorb and internalize different aspects of the ideology in different ways. But this just really demonstrated to me just how simultaneously sad and funny this whole thing is. That when you can't bring yourself to totally internalize the dogma of Jehovah's Witnesses, if you were a former member and you can't do that, this is how other people treat you. They even turn their back on your car as you drive past. So that was just a thought I had today. I thought it was funny. I thought it was also a bit sad. And it's also made me a bit uneasy and nervous, because now I know that witnesses that might have been willing to say hello to me or nod at me as I walked past, in this community at least, are now going to be treating me very differently. This is how witnesses treated me in my former town when I first started questioning the belief system. They reacted not quite like this man, but people would cross the street when they saw me, or they would have a panicked look on their face because the elders had told them that it was dangerous to speak with me, that I was, might spread lies or try and deceive them in some way. So I'm back in this community now after 20 years away, and word seems to be getting around that I'm a bad boy. So I just thought that was a useful experience to share, and thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.